everybody. We barely made it, but we're here.
We're here in spirit. I'm not so sure 100% in mind, but we're here.
Yeah, I think the past couple weeks have taken a toll on Ace and I, so don't expect the most enthusiastic, over-the-top stream.
But we are going to be doing backflips.
Yes. Yeah, Ace is going to juggle flaming chainsaws and...
Yeah, that's I'll do the chainsaws, you do the backflips.
Yeah. The backaches or the backflips?
One, then the other.
Yes. Oh, man. Sorry we missed last week, everybody. It was just like one of those weeks, and I needed a mental break. Kind of like what me and Ace talked about before. Like, a lot of what we can do here kind of revolves around like how we're doing personally, and sometimes you just gotta cut it off and reset. Like your wireless router, or at least mine a few minutes ago, you have to turn it off and turn it back on again. But anyway, so thanks for coming by and hanging out, and yeah, let's get into I'm getting ahead of myself. See, I've done gotten rusty. Like 1 week off and the show is just done. That's again. It. Shut it down. We're done here. But anyway, how was your past couple weeks, Ace?
Not too bad. Still, I've been playing the same thing. The No Man's Sky. Really been diving into the exploration. It's that you can easily waste days looking for a better multi-tool or a ship that's red instead of blue. But beyond that, New World, getting ready to start that back up again. Death Loop is out. I picked that up, so we're going to talk about that a little bit here, but that's about it.
Yeah, I did see that you were streaming, so be sure to go to twitch.tv/AceBjorn.
AceBjorn, yeah, just like just like in my logo there, ACEBEORN.
Yep, go check them out. It was a really cool stream. It was nice to kind of hang out and not be a host, but watch somebody.
Watch somebody else struggle through.
Oh me, but anyway, yeah. I feel like I have done every single thing in the past 2 weeks. As you can see, I have this behemoth behind me. I was telling Ace about the struggles of trying to get that in the house with my brother. And that was not fun. If I ever sell the house, it may stay here. That and our piano. But did a little rearranging, tried to make the scene a little bit more like that cool hangout everyone dreamed of as a kid. But mainly house stuff. Living the dream.
Sometimes the dream is a nightmare, but
sometimes.
But it's anyways
still better than living at home.
You're right. Yeah. No. Well, I mean, I couldn't wait to get out of my house. I had a great family, good parents. I was just so independent when I was younger that I could not wait, and I was stupid.
Yeah.
Had everything for free and couldn't wait to give it up so that I should start paying for it all.
Yeah, same here. I moved out and was making $8 an hour. Oh, to be young and dumb. But
my first job was selling credit cards before I was old enough to use a credit card. And then I went from there to selling newspapers over the phone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Both of those were telemarketing jobs. The one firm that I worked for has since closed, because basically nobody has landlines anymore. And the other one became customer service, I think. But yeah, that was my start in the working world was selling awful credit cards and newspapers I've never read.
Yeah. K. Willery says back when $8 could actually buy stuff. I can tell you from experience, not a whole lot.
Yeah. that was my allowance when I was younger. It was, well, technically it was $10 a month, and of that I had to save $1 and I had to give $1 of that to charity. And so I got $8 a month. That was what I got. And almost always went to like WWF pay-per-views.
I was thinking like the World Wildlife Foundation or whatever you see with the little panda.
No. This was back when there was 2 WWFs and
the NWO and
everybody only knew one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, that speaks to my heart right there. I loved some wrestling. Like I was big into it when Bill Goldberg was like going through his like golden years. Absolutely. And man, whew, good times. You had
Goldberg, Sting, Diamond Dallas Page. I mean, now we're going into WCW, but when I said WWF, I shouldn't have, because it was WCW I was watching.
Yeah, same here. Ooh, sorry, gotta adjust my light. Can't reach. There we go.
And then WWF bought WCW, and wrestling has been garbage ever since. So
pretty
what can you do?
Much.
It is a prime example of how competition makes things better.
Yes. Oh man. All right, so let's get into some news here. So I need to switch screens. Jeez, I'm rusty today. All right, so Deathloop.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of Deathloop.
Not really.
It's strange because it apparently is this big IP from Bethesda, and I had no idea it was coming. And a couple of weeks ago, I actually, I stumbled across a stream, and the streamer I was watching, I can't remember who it was, but they were kind of demonstrating some of the gameplay and stuff, and I watched it, and I was like, I just don't know I don't know if this looks any good. And honestly, I think they picked the wrong person to let debut it early, because he basically was not having it. He's like, this is not my kind of game. It's a good game. It's got a lot of cool features, but it's not my kind of game. And so I kind of wrote it off. Well, then it released, I think, a couple days ago, maybe last week at the earliest, but it's been getting a lot of rave reviews. So I looked back into it, and I was like, you know what? This actually does look really cool. It's kind of a roguelike.
Mm-hmm.
You live kind of like Groundhog Day. You live like the same 3 days, like over and over again, and you're caught in what's called a death loop. And there's you and 6 other assassins, as I understand it, and you have to kill those other 6 assassins and break the loop so that you can get out of the cycle. But so every day every cycle you're going in, you're learning a little bit more about their behaviors and where they're going to be and what they're going to do. And you have to get to a point where I guess you can kill all 6 of them in the time allotted. But it looks pretty cool. Something a little different.
Yeah, like I'm kind of digging the art style. It doesn't really look like a Bethesda game. To me, it kind of brings like BioShock vibes.
It actually is. It's by the same people who did Dishonored.
Oh, that makes sense.
And I don't know. Forgive me. I don't know how all that works. And I know that Bethesda owns the title. I don't know if they, contracted out or how that all works. But it is the same studio that did Dishonored, as I understand it.
Yeah, I see Joseph in chat is saying it's Arcane, so it basically...
Arcane, yes.
Yeah, is that game. I don't know Arcane, so... But yeah, it looks interesting. I could see where if people aren't super into these sort of games, it would come across as boring, but I like the sneaking around and like... Dishonored sort of play style, so That's pretty
And
cool.
honestly, I have to I definitely have to agree that it has some BioShock aspects to it as well. There's some banter and stuff in the game that kind of, when he was playing it through it kind of was reminiscent of BioShock. But I'm just anxious to get playing it and see how that goes.
Yeah, that would be really, really cool. So one thing I saw today, actually, I'm gonna save that for last. I'm really excited about that particular
Oh boy.
topic. So I'm gonna go on to something a little more boring. So retro fighters. I've talked about them in the past. I've reviewed some of their stuff here on the channel. They came out with what they're calling the Blade GC. And it's basically just a replacement GameCube controller, but it is wireless. I'm not sure if it's Bluetooth. Oh, go away, ads. I'm not sure if it's Bluetooth or 2.4 gigahertz. But basically, if you can use it on GameCube, Switch, PC, stuff like that. I'm willing to bet if you have I'm seeing 2.4 gigahertz. If you have a receiver, you may be able to plug it into something like the Mister and use it there too, as well as Retro or Raspberry Pi and all that good stuff. But I'm really excited about this because it's getting hard to find a working used GameCube controller. And I haven't run into a third-party controller that's good. like, like what I've run into is a lot of times third-party controllers, the buttons are just like disgustingly mushy. Like there's no tactile feel to them whatsoever. But yeah, so the Blade GC is on pre-order. I believe it's $39.95.
But wait.
Yeah. $39.99 or 4 easy payments.
You're right.
But yeah, so that's my shameless plug for Retro Fighters. They make real good stuff. I'm not normally a fan of pre-ordering anything, but I know if it's coming from them, there's probably been some like good R&D behind it to back it up. So I heard you talking earlier about New World.
Yes. New World is it's Amazon's first foray into the gaming world. I wasn't too impressed, or I wouldn't say impressed. No, I wasn't too excited about it at first, but I picked it up during the beta and played it for a little bit, and I was actually pretty surprised with how good it was. It's an MMO, and kind of like a almost like a colonial age feel to it, but with magic and some other things. And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed playing it. I do own it. I have it installed. Haven't got to play it yet because I've been focusing on the stream and stuff like that. And unfortunately, when gaming is what you do, you don't always get to pick what you want. But that being said, I think it's a really good game. And if that's your cup of tea, you should definitely give it a shot.
Yeah, how much was it? Was it 60?
Honestly, I don't know. I think it was, I want to say it was 40 and the deluxe edition was 60.
Yeah, $39.99.
Yep,
Or that's really not bad for a deluxe. I might have to pick this up.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really fun game. I had a lot of fun with it, so.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of streamers today. Like, all of my notifications are going off like, New World, New World, New World. I was like, oh, I guess it dropped today.
Right.
Oh, man. All right. So, speaking of things releasing, I found this and I absolutely love when a game has a strong enough fan base to like try to localize the game or something like that. So Sheeran 2 is a dungeon crawler game on the N64, and it was a Japanese exclusive. from what I hear, it's actually a pretty cool game. It's not as wildly known as some of the more popular titles that have had localizations and things like that, but it does have a pretty strong following. Well, let's see. Does it say the person's name who did it? Because I definitely want to give him credit. Yeah, patch comes courtesy of Shark Snack and Aussie Duel over at romhacking.net. And I know romhacking.net has a very kind of gloomy cloud over its head for all of the piracy stuff, but honestly, any ROM hacks that I'm looking for or anything like that, I always get from here. I've never gotten a shady virus disguised as a game or anything weird like that. It's actually how I first played like Metro or Super Metroid Phazon and some other stuff. But anyway, that's where you can download this translation of the game. So now you get to enjoy it and actually understand what they're saying.
Right.
So yeah, it's just really cool. I love seeing communities come together and just work on projects like this because I feel like everybody benefits.
Yeah.
So, right.
And Joseph Pizzuti, it looks like he's saying that, or Pizzuti, sorry if I got that wrong. He's saying, he thought that what's the game that I was just talking about? I mean, Deathloop. He said he thought that it was boring. Maybe need to get past the first 2 hours. I don't know, honestly. I haven't played it. I am only going by what I've seen. And like you said there, people do seem to be enjoying it. And so that's why I'm kind of giving it another shot. But, I'll let you guys know what I think here. I'll probably be playing it this week, and maybe we could talk about it some more next week, because that was my first impressions as well. When I watched that streamer, it just seemed like it was a little on the boring side and something was missing. But again, it was not necessarily the best first impression because he wasn't into it. It wasn't his type of game. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. And that's a good thing. Like, you can buy a game and not like it, and that's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
There's a lot of games that people like that I don't like. Katamari Damacy, for one.
Like half of my wall behind me. Mister, I already lived it.
Right. No, I didn't say I didn't like retro games. I just said I've been there, done that.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So tell us a little bit about Age of Empires.
There's nothing needs to be said about Age of Empires that shouldn't already be known. Age of Empires 4. Anybody familiar with the series is probably a big fan of Age of Empires 2, maybe Age of Mythology. Age of Empires 3 was a big letdown, in my opinion, and I think in a lot of people's opinions. But Age of Empires 4, is a little reluctant to get excited about it. But from what I'm hearing, from people who have tried it out early, is that if they have any complaints, it's that it's too much like Age of Empires 2. So
that's a bad thing.
That there's no way you can argue, or there's no way to me you can say that's a bad thing, because when Steam literally, pretty much put AoE 2 back out, I was all about it. So hopefully they're right. Hopefully this kind of plays homage to AoE 2, because I just don't feel like they could go wrong there.
Yeah. And like looking at some of this trailer that's playing, like it looks really cool. And it's good graphics, but I feel like they didn't get distracted by the graphics. So I'm hoping that like that good gameplay is there.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
Tetris with a new coat of paint. Hey, I'll take it.
Exactly. I feel like, yeah, it was Tetris. When the Switch released, they released a new Tetris game.
Mm-hmm.
And that game is so much fun. Like, it's just Tetris, but with new skins. But
new Tetris.
Talking,
they probably charged an arm and a leg for it, if I had to guess.
Probably being Nintendo. Oh, I
Right.
don't remember.
Nintendo is the king, and I was actually going to talk about this a little bit later when we get into the feature, but um, just mentioning it, like the PS Vita came out, and the Switch just in the last week brought Bluetooth compatibility via a software update, nonetheless, which means it was already compatible before that. They put out a Bluetooth compatibility, and somebody had mentioned that after 4 years, the Switch is finally up to the level of the PS Vita, and they're not wrong.
Yeah, the Switch is definitely, and again, I don't want to spoil anything. If you're going to talk about it later, like I'll save that. But yeah, there are some really good talking points about the Switch.
I was more talking about the PS Vita is what I'm going to mention later, but yeah. Anyways, we'll get to that. We'll get to it.
All right. So the topic I am so excited about. So Legend of Dragoon. I have gushed about this game on the podcast. I have live streamed this game. I adore this title. And luckily it's getting some fan service because apparently Sony has completely forgotten about it. And it's looking really, really good. So a while back they talk about it in the article. Somebody found a like HD remake of the game in RPG Maker. It really wasn't a lot of like substance. It was just like a couple character models or something like that. But here recently, a group of people have gotten together and they're doing what's called the upscale project Mayfill. And right now, they're just going in and retexturing everything and like making it look a lot more crisp. And now it's just this one section, but I'm hoping through platforms like this, maybe people can get on board, support these creators. Heck, if you're savvy, hop on it and like do your part as well. But yeah, these retextures are looking phenomenal in the background. Like this little video, it's just like rolling through different stuff, and like I've noticed, especially when there's like light particles involved or water or something like this background, it just cleans it up so good, and like there's so much detail there, and it adds such a nice amount of depth to what you're actually playing. Because let's face it, PS1 graphics didn't age the best. Like, not by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, so it's just really cool. I don't think anything is officially released or anything. I think they were just kind of showing it off, trying to get some traction. So yeah, Zychronics, I believe is... Oh yeah, they've done one other area as well. So that's who's working on it. So give them a Google, support them. Like, even if it's just going on like their Twitter or something saying like, hey man, good job. I like it. Like, that stuff goes a long way. So yeah, I think that
this actually, I'm pretty darn excited about this myself. For somebody who's not that much into retro gaming, as I've said multiple times, Legend of Dragoon is something special. It's a game that, I mean, it was just done so well. I've still yet to find anything that kind of, stands up to it.
Yeah, it was really cool in a time where Final Fantasy dominated the RPG era. And it was almost like I remember when this game was releasing, people were like, is this going to be a Final Fantasy killer? And like, cause I mean, that's what you had to compare to. And I feel like this game blew Final Fantasy out of the water.
I do too. I'm amazed that, we're not seeing more of these Legend of Dragoon titles. I'm amazed that that Final Fantasy just did so much better. I could probably look back and there's probably good reasons for that, but man, this was such a good game.
Joseph in chat says, you know what's phenomenal? 800 megahertz, 32 Celsius, and 4K 100, or is that core? And 4K 120 hertz on the 6900 XT max settings on Prey. I do admit, new games look good. New games look real good. But I mean, I love all forms of gaming. Like, I love the new stuff and I love the old stuff. But I'm definitely not going to argue there. Prey looks 100 times better than Chrono Trigger. Oh, me. All right, so I think we can officially move to our main topic here. Let me get some screens changed around. That way I can actually, like, I've been smart the past couple weeks, and I've actually made notes. So that way I'm not up here like, Now,
see, you're one-upping me, because I thought about making notes this week. I just didn't get to it.
Yeah, so our main topic this week is, so Ace and I are both gamers, and we both love tech. Like, I feel like it's safe to say we're both, like, hardware nuts. Like, we enjoy a good game, and we enjoy the hardware that goes on behind the scenes. And it got me thinking, so, well, apples to oranges. Squirrel. But anyway, so it got me thinking, like, what are 5 pieces of, like, aha tech? So tech that when you discovered it, when you used it, you were like, aha, that's what I've been looking for. Like, this makes life so much better now that I have this or have found this. And just to kind of, like, lead the way, like, I'll start. I'll do, like, 1 or 2 of mine, and you can do a couple, and we'll just kind of, like, flip-flop. So starting, like, least to best. So one piece of tech that just really made my life so much easier, especially as, like, someone who streams retro games, and plays retro games, via RGB, which is, like, the highest grade analog signal you can use. I found a Hydra Skart switch. And Skart is a special, like, European standard connector. And essentially back in the day, they were like, hey, instead of having 50 different connectors, why don't we just standardize on one connector and then just use everything through it? We can pump composite, S-video, RGB, all of that. So it's a 8 slot switch, and it does 2 outputs simultaneously. So I can send one to my PVM, and I can send one to my capture card. And that was a lifesaver. Because, like, to stream... oh, that kind of tech. Really any tech. I mean, but, yeah, so, like, that was such a lifesaver. And, like, such a great addition to, like, my lineup and what I can offer you all. And on the complete opposite side of things, my laptop that I use has been a beast. Like, I swore off laptops years and years and years ago. And I was like, oh, only desktop PCs for me. And, like, I built awesome water-cooled systems, things like that, like, using the most powerful GPUs, CPUs, and, like, it was awesome, and it did what I needed it to do, but until recently, I haven't felt that laptops have been, like, up to snuff, and when my main system died, I had to edit on something. So I bought one laptop. I'll talk about that in a minute. But it led me to eventually get this laptop. And
what is this one?
This one is the MSI Raider GE77.
Okay. Yeah,
It's
those are the MSI line. Both of my brothers had MSIs, and they seem pretty stout.
Yeah, this is my first MSI. I've had Asus and Toshibas and stuff like that. But this thing is just like phenomenal. Like I've put it through hell and back, and it has not had a single hiccup. It's got RTX 3070. It's got i7 processor, 32 gigs of RAM. Like I'm doing this stream, and I'm using 6% of the CPU. Like on my old system, streaming a retro game, I was using like 85-90% of my CPU. And like I can mount it up under my desk. There's no clutter. It's out of the way. When I'm done, I can just take it with me, edit on the go. And like it has been so great to just like unplug myself from the wall and like actually be able to be mobile with everything. And Joseph says, your main rig died. What happened? Well, the motherboard died. It was a Z97, so that was like circa 2014, 2015, and it built my entire YouTube channel. Like, that thing was my workhorse for years. And I was using a Gigabyte motherboard, which Gigabyte Z97, X99, they were never known for quality. So I'm surprised it lasted that long. But yeah, so what's a couple of your key tech pieces?
Well, my laptop as well. I have the Alienware Area 51 R2, I think. A couple of years old now, but just like you're saying, laptops have really come a long way. That thing will play anything max settings, and I can stream as well.
Mm-hmm.
Absolute beast. The price points there, though, it was normally quite expensive. I paid about half price for it because I just happened to get this sale and then had a discount code and all that kind of stuff. But it is what it is. The other one, though, is the USB-C standardization for most cell phones. I was so tired. I'm the kind of person that kind of goes through cell phones every couple of years. And I hated that every 2 years I was getting a new cell phone and all of my old chargers were no good and stuff like that. And, having them take and finally just say, all cell phones coming out now are going to be USB-C. I think that's amazing.
I adore USB-C. Like, the more I can get rid of these crappy micro USB cables, like they do. Granted, the little ones that you like charge your Xbox controller and stuff with, the little ones aren't as bad as some of the fatter ones when like USB 3 came out. But man, yeah, C is where it's at.
Yeah, absolutely.
And on top of that, I can probably say Thunderbolt 3 as well, because like it's so nice to just push power, data, everything through one cable.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, Joseph brings up a good point in chat. He says, not tech per se, but it's electronic. That would be my vaporizer. Couldn't quit smoking for 28 years till now, although I had to die to heart problems. Like,
hopefully not.
Yeah. That'd be kind of wild if you're dead and still chatting.
Yeah.
But like,
right.
Kudos to you for quitting smoking, and like, yeah, those things are awesome for that purpose. I mean, I know quite a few smokers in my family that have like tried to quit multiple times, and like it's a hard habit to kick. So like,
yeah,
that's awesome you were able to use that to be a valuable tool. And let's see, you said laptop, USB-C.
And you know what? I'm gonna throw another one into the mix, and that's my Switch. I realize that the Switch is just now catching up to the Vita, but I adore everything about it. I've always wanted a handheld that looks good, that plays all the games that I want to play, and the Switch is pretty much there. I mean, I think the Stream Deck personally is going to come in and knock it out of the park. But for now, I really like my Switch.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't be one to Switch people, but I tried. It's a fun console, I'll give it that, but like the titles just weren't there for me.
Yeah, and you know what? I honestly know what you're saying there. I really like some of the older stuff they have on it, although some of those Nintendo games, it's like, why did you pick that?
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. I like Zelda. But you're right. There isn't a whole lot of titles, but there's enough to keep me interested.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when I play Switch when I'm going to be traveling, or not at my PC. So
yeah,
it's just like Joseph says. Switch is cool for handheld, and I don't expect it to be a replacement for my Xbox 360 or 360. Wow. Wow, what in the world is wrong with me? No, for my Xbox Series X, but it works great. I like it.
Yeah, and Joseph saying that the Switch, he can't justify any of those with the PCs. Yeah, and like that's kind of like an ongoing thing. It's been like that for years and years and years. Like I used to be a die-hard console gamer, and then I got a PC. And then I was like, holy crap, this is so much better. So yeah, I prefer to play new titles on PC. But that's why I keep the old stuff around. But yeah, so speaking of like playing old games and stuff, some of the tech that goes along with that with the Skart Switch, I recently sold my FrameMeister and bought a RetroTink 5X. I was one of the lucky ones that got one in the very first batch that ran. And what it is it's an upscaler for old games. The reason I chose it over FrameMeister is it's a lot more simple of a setup. You plug it in, there's very few menu options, but they make drastic changes. And it just works. Like, it's super stout, super reliable. It does, like one common issue you'll have trying to stream old PS1 games is the game will be in 240p, but the menu will be in 480. So when you go to the menu, your capture card will like drop signal. Like they call it the Chrono Cross issue because that's a common game for that to happen in. And RetroTink 5X, you don't get that. It's instantaneous. So like that has been such a great piece of tech to have hanging around. And alongside it, for when I do go to play games on my Mister or on PC, I have the iBuffalo Super Nintendo USB controller. And I talked about earlier that I'd never found a third-party controller that feels good. Well, this is like that one exception. This thing feels just like a Super Nintendo controller. And like it's very low latency, like not enough to actually mean anything. And it's been rock solid. Like I've probably put 600-700 hours on that controller and it still feels brand new. I can't even say that about like Xbox 360 controllers, or I think this is my second Xbox One controller. So yeah. What about you, Ace? Is there any more?
Yeah, my mouse, my Logitech G900. I think there's a new I think it's G920 is the current iteration, but it bridged the gap for me because I really like wireless mice. I like to be able to take them everywhere, but you always have, subtle lag and stuff like that comes with them. The G900 is a wireless mouse with a wired mouse laser in it, so it's got the more powerful laser in it, and battery life does suffer because of that. But it also is wireless until you plug it in, and then it sends the data through the wire.
That's
cool. So, I can use it wireless. When I have it at my PC, it's always plugged in, and then I can just grab it and I leave the dongle plugged into my laptop,
Such a funny
because
word.
if I unplug it from the PC, it automatically switches over and goes from the laptop. And then with the actually with the 920, which there might be more iterations since then. I mean, this thing's like 3 years old, but with the 920, it has the wireless like mouse pad that you can get with it, and it charges it and sends a signal wired and all like that through that mouse pad. So pretty cool piece of tech. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I've been looking for a really good, like, reliable wireless mouse. Like where I work, they get the like little cheapy Logitech, barely fits in the palm of your hand, wireless mice, and like I had to ditch those things. Like spending 8 hours a day with your hand all crippled up like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I use a trackball at work, and like that thing's been phenomenal. I really like Logitech's mice. One I use.
This headset, the HyperX, which I swear by them, with the exception of those, every peripheral I get is Logitech. They just always work. The customer service is great. Like, I'm not paid by Logitech by any stretch, but I just, everything I have, it all works. I've never had anything really go wrong. I've just updated. So,
yeah, and like I have to give huge kudos to Razer. This is a 2013 Death Adder, and I got this when I built my like very first serious gaming computer. And like, man, I have slammed this mouse, like played with it, worked with it, and like it still works so good. So Razer, if you're listening, sponsor us.
Right. Or Logitech,
Yeah,
either or.
Let's turn this whole background lime green, just like flashing lights and.
Oh Lord!
All right, yes. But
and then the last thing or the final thing. Didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, the final thing is the PS5 controller is, in my opinion, the best controller. I do like the Xbox controllers. I've always not liked. That's not a very good way to say it, but I've never been a big fan of the PlayStation controllers. They just, in my hand, they didn't feel right. They were a little too small. The PS5 controller is brilliant. I can put 8 to 10 hours into it and not experience any kind of cramping or anything like that. And maybe obviously that's just personal preference, because I'm sure, not everybody has gigantic sausage hands like I do, but I love it.
So do you have like short meaty fingers or long skinny ones?
I have long meaty fingers.
Okay. Because everyone I know that has shorter fingers love PlayStation style, and everyone that has long fingers like me loves Xbox.
I mean, before the PlayStation 5, my favorite controller of all time was the original Xbox controllers, those big, massive controllers.
The big Dukes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those things are monsters, man. It's like a brick with a wire hanging out of it. But yeah, so my number one favorite piece of tech that I've picked up has been my Mister. Again, not sponsored, but I gush about this project. If you don't know what it is, be sure to Google it. I mean, it's phenomenal. Like, it blows my mind as someone who grew up playing retro games. Like, to go back to it now and use this, like, it just makes the experience so much better than a Raspberry Pi. And a bunch of other, like, I could seriously gush about it all afternoon. But anyway, that has been, like, my number one. Like, I use that thing every day, if not, like, a couple times a day. So, to kind of flip the topic on its head, because like for every exciting piece of tech you find, there's the ones that you're excited about and they end up being turds. And my first example of this. So a while back, I received in a unit to review, and it was called the Super Retro Trio Plus from Retrobit. And it's one of those system on the chip kind of things, like the Hyperkin products. That thing was so broken out of the box. Like, I tried playing games, and the audio was like a high-pitched squeal that would like hurt your ears. The video looked like crap. Like, the product itself, like, I went to flip open the door, and the door fell off of it. And, like, where the controller ports are. And, like, I sent it back. I was like, if I do a review on this, there is not one positive thing I can say about this.
Right.
I was like, I'm just letting you know this now. And it was just kind of like, better to just like bury that one in the backyard and leave it where it is.
Just walk away. Break the wrist, walk away.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
What about you? Have you had a disappointing piece of tech?
Lots of them. Virtual Boy. I loved Virtual Boy, and I wish I had one right now, but it often left me with a headache, and everything would look purple for 20 minutes after you got done using them. So, not good. And overall, I basically, most of the things that I'm going to talk about are, what other, that were just flops. I personally love the Virtual Boy. I would play it again. But it wasn't well received. It was pretty rough, if I'm being honest. But at the time, I thought it was really cool. I couldn't fathom why it, it never took off.
Yeah. So, funny story about the Virtual Boy. Did you know you probably used a stand wrong?
Possibly.
Like the way people used to stand, apparently, according to the patent, it was like 180. So if your Virtual Boy was at a 45-degree angle and you looked down at it like that, you had it right. But if it was the other way, it'd have to sit at 90 degrees. So you'd have to like set it on books or something, so it would be like eye level. Bob from Retro RGB talked about it, and I was like, oh, wow, I'm an idiot. I'm like, how did I not figure that out? I always complained about how it was uncomfortable.
Honestly, I don't remember how I used it now that I think about it. I don't ever remember, like, looking down into it. So I'm going to go ahead and say I probably used it wrong. But I still liked it.
What's so bad is, like, most of their literature showed it the wrong way, too. So, like, how are you supposed to know?
Yeah. Well, I can still picture the box, with the kid, looking into it on the front of the box, and that would have been how I looked at it. So if they was wrong on the box, then I blame Nintendo.
Oh me, yeah.
But get in line for the stuff you can blame Nintendo for.
I know, right? The next piece of, like, I call them boohoo techs because it makes you cry. It's so sad. Going along with the previous system, I was so hyped on the Hyperkin Retron 5 because it played like NES, SNES, Genesis, Game Boy, like all this stuff. And I was like, finally, I don't have to have any consoles. All I have to have is the games. It's going to be awesome. It wasn't awesome. It wasn't awesome at all. And the pack-in controller was the biggest piece of crap. And, like, it's bad, but when you pick up a controller and there's no weight to it, your brain automatically is like, oh boy, here we go. This is going to break.
Yeah.
And, like, that's exactly what it was. That controller had to weigh, like, 1 gram. Or, like, a 1/16 of a pound. Like, it weighed nothing. And, like, I'm still bitter about that.
It's the same with mice, honestly. If you get a mouse, like a wired mouse, they're usually so light. I usually won't even consider them unless they come with the weights to put in there.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's especially with something like a mouse. If you're playing like a first-person shooter or something, weight is a huge factor.
Not to mention, there's a solid chance I'm going to smash it off my desk. Just saying.
Smash, fling. But, right. Yeah, like, just, I bought the Retron 5 at, like, full MSRP, got it home, like, unboxed it, plugged it up, immediately hated it. And I was so salty. I put it back in the box, shoved it in the closet, and proceeded not to look at it for months. And then finally I sold it to a friend of mine.
So you passed that. Not only did you pass that on to a friend,
no,
you made him pay for it.
I warned him. I said, I didn't like it. Take it home. Try it out. If you hate it, give it back. And he never gave it back. So that's on him.
Yeah, right.
It's like one of those, not my problem.
Wow. Exactly.
Oh, man.
And K. Rillery says older PC motion controls. I would go as far as to say motion controls as a whole. I've yet to play a motion control that's anywhere near decent, nor do I really want to. If I wanted to play tennis where I'm swinging a racket, I'll go out and play tennis, which yeah, it's not hard to figure out. I don't play tennis.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, me and a friend of mine were talking a while back about the Wii, and we're like, how is it so successful when, like, gamers don't want to move when they play games?
It's Nintendo, and that's what I was talking about earlier with the Switch. Like, if Nintendo, they could put out a rubber dog turd, and people would line up to buy it, and it's just Nintendo.
They did. It was called the Robo or whatever. The cardboard thing.
Yep. And yeah, that's a good point. I know several people who went out and got the cardboard. They sold you a cardboard box.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
I'm like, go behind Walmart and steal one.
Just make sure nobody's living in it.
I know, right? That's my house. Oh, goodness. But yeah, so
that's a good point, Kay Willery, and that's exactly. He says when you realize that for the Wiimote, just flicking your wrist works in Tetris, you're absolutely right. And I don't think I ever made a full effort or a full movement, whether it was bowling or the crappy swordplay in Twilight Princess or any of those games. I don't think I ever made an actual full attempt at movement. It was always just that little flick of the wrist.
Yeah, I know when we first got it, the Wii was one of the first consoles like I bought with my money. And we got it home and we played Wii Sports that entire night. And every time my brother got up to bat in a home run derby game, he'd swing that whole remote like it was a baseball bat. I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
That was the end of many good television sets.
Like, that's all you need. I'm like, nothing else matters, just the. But yeah, I thought it was pretty comical that, like, before every game they had the, like, warning to tighten the wrist strap so you don't throw it. But yeah, so lately my biggest, like, most regretted purchase was the laptop I had right before this one I love. I had a Dell G7, and like working in IT, my rank of kind of brands as far as quality would go Dell, Lenovo, like cheap Chinese brand, 50 others, and then HP at the bottom. And I was like, you know what? And
that's only because Gateway's not around anymore.
I know, right? And I was like, you know what? I've had friends tell me that the Dell laptops, when you use them for like workflow stuff, are really, really good. So I'll give it a shot. I bought it, and like day 2, I had to wipe Windows and reinstall it because all of the drivers stopped working. Like all of them.
Wow.
Then like day or two after that, anytime I plugged in my SD card or a USB device, it would just blue screen. And I was like, what the heck? So I wiped Windows again and reinstalled everything and like made sure I used actual like from Dell drivers and that Windows didn't just install a weird USB driver from somewhere. It kept happening. And then slowly but surely, one by one, all of my programs would stop working. So I'd be in Photoshop working on something, and then it would just crash. I'm like, whatever. Go to Premiere, start working on a video, get like 20 minutes of an edit done, and it would crash. And I'm like, what the heck? So then I'd go and audition, and that would crash. And like finally, I've got a lot of buddies who work for Geek Squad, and I bought the laptop through Best Buy. And I was like, look, I'm on day 32 of my 30-day return policy. Can I exchange this for something? And he was like, yeah, man, bring it in, like, no problem. And like, they were super awesome. And granted, I spend a ton of money at Best Buy, but like, it was the most painless process. And this was the last GE77 with the 3070 in it that they had. And I was like, that's the biggest, baddest mamma jamma you got. I want that one. And it was like $150 more than what I paid for the crappy Dell. And so I got that, and it's been rock solid since. Knock on wood. But man, I fought and fought and fought that stupid Dell laptop. And ever since then, anytime I walk by in Best Buy and I see it, I like shut it. I'm like, you're a piece of junk.
I'll tell you, you know, from an IT background and, you know, just personal use, I would separate it out. I would agree with the exact way that you put that, you know, with Dell and Lenovo and going down. But then I would have to split it and say Dell's high-end business class at the top, everything else Dell way down at the bottom. I don't know why, but their consumer grade is just garbage.
Yeah.
You know, if you're buying it from, you know, Best Buy, Walmart, you know, even from their website, if you're getting like the with the latitudes and stuff like that, you know, absolute garbage. And you know, my wife, she's always concerned with price, and so she will get, you know, these lower end Dells and just has no end of problem with them. Whereas, you know, I go with the XPSs, the Alienware, stuff like that. You know, and they work brilliantly. I don't know how a company can have, you know, such a discrepancy in their products, but man, there's definitely a difference between the higher end and the lower end when it comes to Dell.
Yeah, and I totally agree. Anytime I price a server or something like that, I always go Dell. One, their pricing's usually like pretty spot on. Like the cost to performance ratio there, but also like their technical support is top notch. Like on the enterprise grade stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like some of the older Optiplexes, like I've got an Optiplex down there that was even older than my main, like my old rig, and it works phenomenal. Like that thing is, I've used it as a router. I've used it as a Plex server. I've used it as, it's been so many different things, and it keeps working. And that's why I like that Dell. Like I bought a nice Dell laptop.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was like a $1,600 laptop, and like to have it crap out in quite literally a couple days, I was just like, you got to be kidding me, man.
Yeah, I'd be quite irate.
And yeah. What's great is I frequent that Best Buy a lot. And I always go to like the refurbished section. I never saw my laptop in a refurbished section. So like I know that sucker went straight back to Dell.
Right.
Oh man.
So I two that I was really disappointed in, and you know I'm going to give those two, and I think that's all I have. But the PS Vita, just could have been so much more. And, there was no titles, and PlayStation basically put it out and forgot about it.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention that storage was expensive and all the other stuff that went with it. But, it was really ahead of its time and stuff. And I really wish that, the PS Vita was a flop, but it shouldn't have been. It had everything that could have made it great, and Sony didn't do anything with it. The other thing, the actual number one disappointment in my lifetime that I may never get over, is the augmented reality glasses, the Google Glass. I was so pumped for those because my entire life I had images of like the Mech Warrior heads-up display when I walk around, that would like show people's faces and tell me who they were and all that. And that's what they promised. And when it came out, it just was a complete flop. Maybe they'll, get that working at some point in the future, but they won't because they abandoned the project, but maybe somebody will. And I'm holding out hope for that. But I think that the whole like, wearable tech, the glasses like that, I think that would be so cool if they could get that right.
Yeah. And talk about the PS Vita. I thought it was really funny when Switch was like, the new Switch has an OLED screen. And like, that's their big marketing point. The PS Vita has an OLED screen.
Mm-hmm. And Bluetooth.
And Bluetooth. And like, it was a fantastic system. Like, it had so many good games. It just like, I guess it never got the market share or something, but yeah, it's super sad. Like, I wish the Vita would have, granted it had a long life, but
it did. And it did have a lot of good games, but the problem is that it had such a long life that like break all those games up and you had like one good game for it a year.
Yeah. Because
and
it was last year they finally like end of lifed it, wasn't it?
Yeah, they end of lifed it. But I mean, they basically forgot about it. PlayStation put that out. They pretty much immediately after putting it out, they stopped advertising it. They stopped offering like any kind of real support for it. And, you're just, they would put out a game once a year, but that was all the thought that they gave to it. And I just don't understand it.
Yeah. Because, I remember commercials, they were talking about Vita could communicate with PS3. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it made it through PS3 pretty much to the end of PS4 and the beginning of PS5. Well, almost PS5.
Yeah,
but
it was a brilliant system.
Then again,
Monster Hunter, I don't remember which one it was. I think it was Revolution. I played to death on a PS Vita. Like,
yeah, I played the OG on the PSP. So good, such good times. But yeah, you're talking about Google Glass. Like, I remember when that announced, I was just sitting there like, how is this gonna work? I'm like picturing Watch Dogs. Like, you're gonna go down the road and you can like hack the ATM and it just starts like vomiting money or something. Like,
right. Well, I don't think I ever had any unfair expectations of it, but I don't know. Like, for me personally, I really like wearables and stuff that help me with my day-to-day problems. Like, I have a Samsung Watch. And I really like it because it helps me with things like, notifications and reminders and stuff like that. And to have that, but to like pop it right up on my face, I think would be awesome. Not to mention, I see down the road, like I said, kind of the facial recognition thing where, it's going to, that person you haven't seen in 5 years and you feel really stupid when you're like, oh yeah, hi, guy. Boy, we had fun back then. It would actually, bring up their name or something, but
yeah, that would be the end of awkward conversations.
Some of them.
It just like comes up with a list of stuff they like. It's like, how about them Cowboys?
Right.
Which if they like the Cowboys, you shouldn't be hanging out with them. Just saying.
That's absolute fact. Whereas I bet you probably don't like the correct team either, which would be the Steelers.
I'm just kidding. I crap on everybody. I don't watch sports.
I am so far removed from sports. I do have, I live near Pittsburgh, and so by default, everything Pittsburgh is the best. But that being said, I haven't watched a sports game in ages.
Yeah.
Other than soccer, I watch. I do enjoy soccer. I watch World Cup and stuff. So.
Oh man. So yeah, I think that's a wrap. I can't even think. I'm so wore out.
In our next episode, we're gonna play soccer. No, that's a lie.
Yeah. Oh,
soccer is way too athletic for me. Getting out of this chair is way too athletic for me, so soccer is definitely out of the question.
I mean, I could probably set up like a cloud gaming server, and then we could play like
some FIFA.
People play that?
No, I think that's pretty much a trading card simulator.
I got my like weekly Best Buy ad, and it was like FIFA 22. I was like, why?
Utterly baffles me in a country that exclusively ban or not exclusive. That's wrong, but it bans soccer just across the board. Like everybody hates soccer. It floors me that that's like one of the most popular games out there.
Yeah.
Like you think it would be NASCAR or I guess like the football games are pretty big, but no, FIFA. It's like, where did that come from? Why? Do you even know how to play soccer? But you really want to play the PlayStation 5 game?
I made it 2 whole practices of rec league soccer, and I quit.
Oh, it's a demanding game. Like
I could not do it.
I realize that football is very physically demanding. In the aspect of like taking hits and stuff like that, but you are not going to find a more athletically demanding game than soccer. Those guys are running essentially like marathons,
stamina for days.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But anyways, this is not a sports broadcast, so
no, not Sports Center. Anything
it's anti-Sports Center.
Alrighty, so I think that's where we're gonna wrap it up for today, folks. Thank you for coming out, hanging out, hitting us up in chat. That was fun. Like, it's always nice having some like outside input coming in because it makes you think of stuff you didn't think of, like finger football.
Mm-hmm. And if you guys, if anybody watching this later on, if you can think of any tech that just utterly bombed or any that you just really love, put that in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. And be sure to like keep an eye out on social media and stuff. We'll keep you updated if we're doing anything. I've been trying. I gotta do better. But anytime this fella goes live on Twitch, I've been trying to like put out a link or something so y'all would be able to find him. Be sure to hit him up on Twitch. Like, it's a good stream. It's a good stream. It's a reason we got him in here to co-host this thing.
Don't worry, I'll send you the check in the mail. So
thank you. Video games aren't cheap.
Right.
All right, everybody. We'll talk to you later and see you in the next one.
See you guys.